Yo, 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 and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylar.
And I'm Morgan.
And welcome back. Wait, that's your
episode 85.
Yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by a little something called charisma. We love charisma. We love being charismatic. We're full of it.
We love happiness. We are back.
We are back to our better selves.
Taylar landed on a plane last night at 12 a.m. in Knoxville, and we're back with some charisma.
Ollie got his balls cut open, but we're still here with some
charisma. They're like, what is happening?
What the fuck is happening?
So you're going to hear a lot more about it on the next Shots Fired. So if you're not a Patreon, you probably want to join that to learn what the hell we're talking about.
Go ahead and join.
We've got a message for you. It'll be coming sooner rather than later.
And it's called charisma.
Charisma.
We love it. It's a little something called charisma. Okay.
Sorry.
How was my week without you?
Yeah, how was it?
It was
amazing.
It was fucking great. No, I'm kidding. Actually, my work week got slammed.
Yeah.
It was eventful, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, well, it was relaxing after work.
Yeah.
During work, I still wanted to pull my hair out, but it was good. Ollie got neutered, like I said, and we're dealing with that right now because he's a psycho and can rip the cone. What dog can rip the cone that's threaded into their collar off their head? Let me know. Leave it in the comments.
Psycho.
If you don't follow him on Instagram, it's at Ollie's World. He's currently looking for a new home. He's trying to be rehomed, preferably a cone-free household. So if you have that to offer him, please reach out to him, and I know he'd love to do a couple interviews with you.
And he's also looking to get his balls back. So
yeah, if you guys could also manage that, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Taylar, how was California?
It was amazing.
You look like a Cali girl. Like maybe you should move out there.
Maybe I should go. So we went to San Diego first, right? And I was expecting fully that I was going to like San Diego a lot better than LA, just because of what people say. They're like, most people are like, you're gonna hate LA when you go. Like, it's just not what you think it is. I loved LA.
Yeah, you're totally in your element.
I loved it. It was so fun. And we did like one day of like touristy shit, but there's really not much to see tourist wise.
Yeah.
Like we did a Warner Brothers studio tour because, my husband Logan, he's a movie fiend, like obsessed with all things movies. So we went to go see that, and we got to see like the cast of Friends, their set, the final really cool set of the Central Park Cafe and all that stuff. So that was really dope. But my favorite part about the entire trip was the food. The food was amazing. I never got my Korean corn dog.
Oh.
Because we went to this Korean barbecue place instead, and the Korean corn dog place was right beside it, but we just ended up just taking our time and eating there. And I was like,
you were like, no.
First off, I was so full, and it was like 11 o'clock their time, which was like 3 basically our time. So I was dead, and we were flying out the next day. So this was Saturday night. Yeah, because we left Saturday. It was Friday night. But we had a great time, and I got to go to Melrose, which was my number one thing I wanted to do. And
that's so cool.
The food there was amazing. And then we went back to
Pretty Penny.
Oh, Pretty Penny. Beautiful penny, actually. It was worth all the pennies, actually. But we got to go eat at this amazing Italian restaurant. And if you know me, I'm obsessed with Italian food. I'm obsessed with all food, to be honest.
Yeah. But pasta is your shit.
Pasta is my shit. I will eat
Mexican
pasta.
is Logan's.
Yeah, Mexican is Logan's. Italian is mine, but we both love like Korean food so much. Just Asian food in general is my favorite also. So we ate the best sushi ever. We had Korean barbecue. We had California burritos. We had tacos. Good. We had pasta. We ate our little asses off. And then we went to Melrose. We went back to Melrose before we left because there's this place called Alfred's. It's like a coffee joint. Okay, Sophia and Chinzia. You guys know I love Sophia and Chinzia. They go there every time they come to LA. And they come like
You're
once
trying
a
to
year.
be like Sophia and Chinzia. It's really sad.
This podcast has gone downhill.
You lost your charisma.
I miss the charismatic ladies that they used to be. Aww. Aww. I hate that for you. Anyways. But we went to go eat at had got coffee at Alfred's, amazing. And then we went to Dialogue, which is their favorite like breakfast spot there. Yeah. And they're known for their like cheesy, fluffy scrambled eggs, and you don't like eggs, but Chinzia always gets this giant acai bowl and like just talks about it for hours every time. So I forced Logan and Chris, who we went out there to see. Logan's a really good friend from college, and then Parker came and met us.
Actually, fun fact, Chris was an RA on my floor freshman year, which is crazy.
Yeah, Chris, we went to go see them, and so we hung out the entire day at Venice Beach. But before that, we went on that hike where you can see downtown LA and the Hollywood sign. Mm-hmm. So it's Runyon Canyon if anybody wants to go. It's so worth it. It's not that bad of a hike, but don't go to the main entrance where the main trailhead is. Go to the back entrance, which is off this like main hill. You don't have to do the full 2 mile hike. You can just do like a half mile. It's great. So anyways, we went there, and then afterwards we were starving, and I was like, well, I'm going to Dialogue. I don't care what you guys do. And they're like, oh, we'll go. And Chris is like, I've never tried that before. And he's been living there for 4 years. Like, we haven't seen this dude in 4 years, and he's like one of our best friends. So anyways, I took them all, and he's like, no, this is my new spot because it is so effing good. It was the best breakfast food I've ever had. Stop. Yeah, it was amazing.
I could always fuck up a good smoothie bowl.
Yes, and I got to go see Lexi. Yes. And I got to meet Celia, and she's amazing, and I'm so excited for them to come here. I can't wait
to see them.
I know. You're going to die when they come here. We're going to have the best time ever.
Soon. June, right?
In June, yeah.
Lexi girl, if you're listening,
we'll see ya.
We're ready for ya.
But yeah, that's really it. We had an amazing time. I got to see all of the props used in the Annabelles and Conjurings.
Oh no,
I took pictures of the satanic books for you guys, so I'll post them on our Instagram.
Immediately now.
Yeah.
Immediately now. Well, I think we have some news that we can share now that it's officially announced.
What?
Our bartender Bailey.
Oh, I was like,
go ahead.
News? Bartender Bailey's pregnant.
She's having a little baby vodka. A little baby vodka.
A little baby Bailey cream vodka. Liqueur.
Little Bailey's Irish cream.
Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. But yeah, we're going to be aunts. Creeps and Crimey aunts. Officially.
And Lexi Titano's having a baby.
She announced that. I was about to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two babies.
Two babies.
So we're super excited for you guys.
I'm scared.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Anyways, but I think that's all I have to say in this intro.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so ready, spacey right now.
I'm ready to give you guys a charismatic episode.
Yeah.
So if you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy
and charismatic.
Yeah.
And also, before we get into this, we have to give a shout out to our Patreon of the month.
Ooh, who is it? Who is it?
Drum Sarah roll, Grace.
We love you, Sarah Grace.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm being quiet. I was like,
she's a day one. Yeah. She's dope as fuck.
Sarah Grace and I went to high school together, and we always hung out with like the same groups, and we cheered together. And then when we started the podcast, she was one of our very first listeners.
Yeah.
Like
she was like.
She won our first giveaway.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Oh my God.
And so we've talked with her for a long time, and she's always like the best to us. So we love you, Sarah Grace. And thank you for so much, everything that you've done for us.
Supporting
and
us.
Being a Patreon for us since day one. So we love you.
Love ya.
Thank you. You guys know that our lives are crazy right now.
With trip after trip.
Wedding after wedding.
And now, baby after baby.
At the end of what feels like an endless workday, the last thing I want to do is cook dinner.
But when your fridge is empty, that urge to order in and skip the cooking happens all too often.
Thanks to Daily Harvest, a sponsor of Creeps and Crimes, I don't have that takeout temptation anymore.
Daily Harvest helps me keep my freezer fully stocked with options that are delivered right to my door and are delicious, nourishing, and ready in minutes.
Daily Harvest delivers delicious harvest bowls, soups, flatbreads, snacks, smoothies, lattes, and more, built on organic fruits and vegetables.
Daily Harvest has delicious options for any time of the day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and dessert. Everything is always on hand in your freezer and ready to enjoy when you need it. My personal favorite is the strawberry peach smoothie. It is to die for.
Oh my God, it's so good. But my favorite right now is their curry vegetable harvest bake, which you're going to hear a lot more about later. Me and Logan loved it so much, it's all he can talk about.
Not to mention, they're healthy, clean options that keep you on track during those busy nights.
With Daily Harvest, I never have to question if the food I'm eating is good for me. They create food that is both good for my health and the health of the planet.
By supporting farmers who invest in practices that increase biodiversity and improve the health of our soil, they deliver food in recyclable and composting packaging. Daily Harvest does the work, so all you have to do is eat.
My favorite thing to do. New on the scene is their delicious, which I already talked about, harvest bake. For those moments when you're looking for that homemade feel without any of the work, they are ready to bake veg-packed dishes, sizzling with gourmet level flavors that are big enough to share. You just don't want to.
Avoid the takeout temptation and get Daily Harvest. Go to dailyharvest.com/creepsandcrimes to get up to $40 off your first box.
That's dailyharvest.com/creepsandcrimes for up to $40 off of your first box.
dailyharvest.com/creepsandcrimes.
All right, Morgan, what do you have for us today? Were you waiting for the cue?
I was kind of. Today I'm going to be getting a little sciencey with you guys, a little Bill Nye. So truthfully, though, this is a little bit out of my range. It's still creepy nonetheless, but it's an area that I don't dive into much, which is like some hardcore science.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always like, they allegedly, or they theorize. So today I'm going to be talking about the Wic Effect, or more commonly known as the reason behind spontaneous human combustion.
I'm so excited.
So yeah, let's
I'm
dive
so
into
excited.
It. 92-year-old Dr. J. Irving Bentley was an elderly gentleman who loved to smoke his pipe. And because of this, he was always carrying around matches in his robe pockets. Getting big Hugh Hefner vibes here, Dr. Bentley. In your robe, you're smoking a pipe. Like,
right.
Come on. Dr. Bentley was a family physician in Coudersport, Pennsylvania from 1925 until he retired in 1953. In 1947, he had suffered from a fractured hip, preventing him a lot of mobility and leaving him to be infirm in his senior year. So a caregiver having to come and take care of him. He stayed around the area of Coudersport and remained in his house. On December 5th, 1966, a man named Don Gosnell, who was a meter reader for the North Penn Gas Company, arrived at Dr. Bentley's home and let himself in. Which I know that sounds crazy, but we have to think this is 1966. Right. Meters were read every month. You usually would create a relationship with the people inside the house. And like, it wasn't unusual. He would come often. He knew the 92-year-old retired doctor was,
basically bedridden at this point.
Right. Needed help. So he was just letting himself in. And Dr. Bentley was okay with this arrangement. But this time, when Don Gosnell entered the house, he noticed something. A light blue smoke and a strange smell that he would later describe as being somewhat sweet, like starting up a new oil burning system. He thought, well, maybe the doctor was just burning something in the kitchen. So he headed down to the basement to read the meter when he saw a pile of ash on the basement floor. And when he looked above this pile of ash, there was a burned hole from the floor above.
Oh, shit.
Clearly, now panicked and concerned about Dr. Bentley's safety, Don rushed up the stairs to see a gruesome scene in the bathroom. Here he found a giant hole measuring 2 foot by 4 foot that was burned through the ground right underneath Dr. Bentley's walker. A burned robe in the nearby tub, in the leg of Dr. John Irving Bentley with the shoes still intact.
Oh, shit.
The rest of his remains were burned to ashes. Don Gosnell ran out of the house and back to the gas company screaming, "Dr. Bentley's burned up." When first responders arrived, there were few signs of fire damage throughout the house. The nearby tub was basically untouched, and the rubber tips on his walker were still intact. The official cause of death was recorded as death by asphyxiation and 90% burning, and 90% burning of the body.
I'm not even laughing about that, but like, you don't even have a body to say like,
right, like 90% burning. What's the other 10% his leg?
Right. Sorry guys. Sorry.
With the conclusion in theory that Dr. Bentley had set fire to himself in the bedroom with his pipe and went into the bathroom in an attempt to extinguish the flames. That was their theory, which yes, this is possible. But his pipe was found untouched with no evidence that it had actually even been used recently. It was laying peacefully on his bedside table. They estimated that the fire that burned Dr. Bentley was around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Holy shit.
And how could a man catch fire and burn completely without igniting everything around him? Many people present Dr. Bentley's case as one of the best examples of SHC, or spontaneous human combustion. Spontaneous human combustion occurs when a person bursts into flames from a chemical reaction within them without being ignited by an external heat source. Say what? We can just blow up?
Right.
Apparently. Taylar, I'm going to show you the picture of the scene of Dr. Bentley's bathroom.
Oh, the leg.
Look at the walker right above the floor.
That is crazy.
Toilet's
looking.
not burned.
Nothing else is burnt. It's literally just where he was standing, apparently.
Right.
And his legs just
like
chilling
he just
there.
like fell into the.
It's like half a calf,
like the
too.
floor like caved in, and he.
Yeah, like he like burned through the floor. That's crazy.
And his leg looks like there's no burn mark.
No, it literally looks like it was just like
crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
So scary.
Do you have more pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like I'm just going to blow up at any second.
I know, me too.
Yeah, so apparently we can just blow up. Alleged SHC accounts date back to 1663.
Holy shit.
When a Danish anatomist, Thomas Bathelin, described a woman in Paris as going up in ashes and smoke while sleeping.
Oh, shit.
And this is 1663. So what were mattresses made out of? Do you have any good guess? Straw. They were made out of straw.
Oh my God.
Hay straw. And the straw mattress that this woman was sleeping on was untouched by the fire.
No shot. Literally.
That's what they say.
Unless, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, no shot that she was ever like actually put on fire. Like, because you get you're like ashing out something.
And the whole bed's on fire.
You walk by with a cigarette and you barely like pop it off, or like a little piece falls off, boom, gone. Your barn, donezo.
Like this woman was burned from the inside out.
Yeah. Your barn?
Since 1663, there have been hundreds of accounts of spontaneous human combustion. The death of Helen Conway is an example of this. 51-year-old Helen Conway was babysitting her 2 grandchildren, the children of her daughter and son-in-law. On November 8th, 1964, in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure what's going on with Pennsylvania, but
that's what I was about to say.
Kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Are you going to spontaneously combust right now?
Are we going to catch it on camera, me going in flames?
Oh my God, we would get so famous. Do it.
Let me
get focused.
Yeah, get focused. Let me get focused and get it together. So on November 8th, 1964, in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, at 8:42 a.m., Helen's granddaughter delivered a book of matches to her grandmother, Helen, upstairs after her grandmother had asked her to bring them.
Okay.
A couple minutes after this, the neighbor across the street, who was headed to church, noticed an odd glow coming from the upstairs window.
A glow?
She ran over to the house and wasn't able to make it upstairs because the heat was so intense. She ran back home and called the fire department. Within minutes, the fire department was there. Also snaps to them because that doesn't happen anymore.
Whoa, yeah, no way.
Making their way up Helen's stairs and searching the smoke-filled bedroom. One firefighter stuck his hand into, quote, something greasy, which were the remains of Helen Conway. When the smoke cleared out, they saw a sight that they had never known to be possible. Melting into the chair were just the lower limbs of Helen Conway's body. All that was left were her legs from the knees down.
Oh my God,
they
like
were
his.
Unburnt, but blistered. Yeah, just like his.
Just
it's
like
weird.
his.
They're all the stories are kind of the same.
Yeah.
Her left arm, her left arm was still there, which only the bone remained, and had a bracelet dangling from the bone. The only signs of fire damage in the room was the chair that Helen was sitting on. There was a telephone that was on a nearby table that had began to melt, but it showed no signs of fire damage. It was more so like heat.
Oh, like a heat damage.
Melted from the
melted from the melted.
Yeah, melted from the heat. And there was a pack of cigarettes on that same table that was untouched, and that was paper. They're paper cartridges, so that's why they assumed it was heat because the fire didn't get to it. The sheets on the bed were untouched by the fire, and the highly flammable dolls on her dresser right next to the couch were also untouched. Investigators believed it was foul play due to the rate and intensity at which the fire burned. An estimated 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, beginning and ending in 6 minutes.
Whoa.
Helen's death is a prime example of the Wic Effect. So this is really blurry, but you can see it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Crazy.
That is insane looking. That is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So what is the Wic Effect? The Wikipedia definition is that the Wic Effect is the partial or total destruction of human body by fire. But how does it work? It's theorized that the clothing of the victim, so what we're wearing right now, is going to soak up melted human fat, and it'll act like the wick of a candle. So this clothed human body will act like, think of it as like an inside-out candle, with the fuel source being human fat inside, and the wick, aka the clothes, outside.
Right.
So the human fat is the candle, and the wick is the clothes. Human fat contains a large amount of energy due to the presence of long hydrocarbon chains. Therefore, there is a continuous supply of fuel in the form of melting fat that seeps into the victim's clothing. Okay. Often, what sets a spontaneous combustion off is accidentally either igniting yourself with a cigarette, a lighter, a stove, oven, car, etc. Like a lot of the examples we'll see they're smokers. So like that's what they get it from. But actual spontaneous human combustion can just be like the temperature of the room or the temperature of the area. Like you don't have to have, like, you are your own source.
Oh, whoa.
You don't have to have an outside source.
Like if you're running a fever,
that's what they've been trying to prove. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you're running a fever, you're fucked.
Oh my God. You're going down.
Mary Harder Reeser, 67 years old, of St. Petersburg, Florida's death is believed to be a case of the Wic Effect. Around 8 a.m. on July 2nd, 1951, Mary's landlady, Pansy Carpenter, arrived at her apartment on 1200 Cherry Street, Northeast St. Petersburg, Florida, with a telegram.
I love Cherry Streets.
Can you imagine just being like, I have to go to your house. I have a telegram for you. I love that.
I do too.
I love that energy and that vibe.
I love anything called Cherry Street. For some reason, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, Knoxville is a really great Cherry Street.
Is there a Cherry Street here?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it at? Is it in North Knoxville? Mm-hmm. Damn it.
Yeah, right by the zoo.
Oh, God. No, not the zoo.
We love Cherry Street.
We love a Cherry Street.
But the landlady, Pansy, love that name too, was stopped at the door when she noticed it was uncomfortably warm to the touch and called the police for some help.
Yeah.
When they entered the apartment, they were thrown back with a gust of hot air. The home showed some signs of fire, mostly smoke, and Mary was not answering any calls out to her. Her remains, which were mostly ashes, were found among the remains of a chair that she had been sitting in. All that was there was her left foot, still wearing a black satin slipper, her charred liver that had been fused to a fragment of her vertebrae, and a shrunken skull that was the size of a teacup.
You're kidding.
Basically, this 170-pound woman was reduced to a pile of remains that weighed less than 10 pounds.
Whoa.
Dr. Wilton Krogman, who was the leading American forensic expert on the subject death by fire, was called in to study Mary's case. In 25 years of working, he was thrown back at Mary's shrunken skull.
Yeah.
Because in deaths by burning, the skull actually expands. Mary was estimated to burn at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Her case was so astounding that the police chief sent a box of evidence to a man named J. Edgar Hoover, a.k.a. the man in charge of the FBI at the time.
Oh, wow.
He was the leader.
Yeah.
With a note that said, "We request any information or theories that could explain how a human body could be so destroyed and the fire confined to such a small area and so little damage done to the structure of the building and furniture in the room, not even scorched or damaged by the smoke." Well, this guy, J. Edgar Hoover, was like, what? And
I'm on it.
He runs to President Harry Truman.
Oh, okay.
Harry Truman's in on this case, and they discuss Mary's case together. On August 8th, the FBI ruled Mary Reeser's death to have been due to something called the Wic Effect. So the FBI is confirming that the Wic Effect is real. Or at least they did back in what was that year that I said? 51. So, saying that she had taken this was their theory, that she had taken her regular dose of sleeping pills and fell asleep while smoking a cigarette in her armchair. They then claimed that the nightgown, which was a satin nightgown, her robe and slippers that she was last seen alive in acted as a wick, and her body fat kept the fire going until she had been completely consumed.
Whoa.
You can't even see it.
Oh my God, you can't even see anything. It's just a pile.
Yep.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is so wild.
The hundreds of alleged spontaneous
Spontaneous
human combustion accounts follow the same pattern. The victim is almost completely consumed, usually inside their home. First responders at the scene notice a sweet, smoky smell in the room. The room around the person will show minimal fire damage, and usually some type of extremities, aka limbs, will remain intact. The BBC television program QED conducted a large-scale experiment studying the Wic Effect. During their documentary, they wrapped a dead pig in a blanket and placed it in a furnished room. The blanket was then lit with a small amount of petrol.
Petrol?
I
don't know.
The body of the pig took a little bit of time to ignite, and it then burned at a very high temperature with very minimal flames.
Okay.
Victims of spontaneous human combustion don't always just burst into flames. Some have reported to develop strange burns on their bodies with no obvious source. And not every person who supposedly caught fire has died. Yes, people have experienced SHC and lived to tell the tale.
No way.
In 1985, Frank Baker, a Vietnam veteran living in Vermont, claims he spontaneously caught fire while sitting on his couch. Claims yes, because Frank Baker lived to tell the tale. According to the Huffington Post, Frank Baker said on an episode of the Unexplained Files that, quote, "We were getting ready for fishing and sitting on the couch. Everything was great. Pete, who's my friend that we call Willie, was sitting next to me, and we were just having a hell of a time. That is until Frank began to have literal flames come from his body."
Shit.
His friend Willie says, "It was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. Frank was freaking out and making me freak out." I'm like, dude, your friend's on fire. Like, of course he's gonna freak out. Like,
if you were on fire, I'd freak out.
He's like, I mean, what? Frank, don't freak out, man. Like,
you're just on fire.
Like, it's totally
You're
cool.
just fucking starting fires with your thoughts right now.
Like,
but
Willie, come on. Like, I'd freak out. Everyone would freak out.
Everybody would freak out.
Willie, you would freak out.
Willie, you didn't freak out, apparently, but...
Frank started panicking, was trying everything he could to stop his body from being burned. Frank said, "I had no idea what was taking place on my body, not a single clue." The two friends were able to somehow put the flames out, and they went straight to the hospital, only to receive a diagnosis that was almost as shocking as the flames that lit up on his body. The doctor came in and said, "Frank, you burned from the inside out."
What? That's so wild. What the fuck?
For an object to spontaneously combust, 3 things need to happen. 1, the body must be heated to its ignition temperature, or the point at which it will catch fire without being exposed to an external flame or spark. 2, the heat building up inside can no longer escape. And 3, if it's being exposed to a steady flow of oxygen, boom, spontaneous freaking combustion. It is a phenomenon, and people actually debate if it's real or not. But why am I losing my train of thought? Before I end, I have to tell you guys something.
Okay.
So I thought I put it in my notes, but I guess I didn't, that people will report getting these burn spots on their bodies and being like, I didn't get burned.
No.
Where are these coming from?
Now I gotta look all over me.
Yeah.
What if that's what birthmarks are?
What? Signs of spontaneous human combustion?
Yeah. What if you just catch fire in the womb?
Maybe. You know that shit's hot in there.
Yeah. I mean, because you have your body temperature and then your mom's body temperature.
Yeah.
And you get hot as shit when you're pregnant.
I don't know. So if you're scared that you're going to just magically blow up, because I'm kind of
scared for you.
Just check yourself. Make sure there's no flames coming here or there.
Be sure that you record
there's no blisters, and also make sure you record it so we can, and then submit it as a creepy account, but don't die.
Yeah. Well, if you do die, just write that down in your will. If I happen to spontaneously combust, please, Creeps and Crimes has all rights to this video.
Put that in your will.
Creeps and Crimes LLC.
And don't let us tell you again.
Yeah.
Period.
Because Morgan and I have this written agreement, basically. Yeah. It's if one of us dies, the other one has full ability to capitalize on our death. And to do it in the best way possible.
Can I pause here? Taylar has already capitalized on my death in a TikTok, guys, and I'm still here.
I have.
She's already capitalizing. My dad, I'm still alive.
You have to go look at that TikTok. It's Morgan's
fucking
funeral.
Hilarious.
It's hilarious.
But anyway, that's all I have today. It was just a fun little sciencey segment.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
back
into the flow. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I really loved it. And I liked you being able to do science. That's your thing.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I liked that they had pictures.
The best part is the pictures.
And I'm really curious, why do you think the lead of the FBI had to go discuss this with the fucking
because he was
president?
probably like, dude, this shit is whack. Like, we gotta bring Mr. President.
People are blowing up.
People are literally blowing up, and it's mainly in Pennsylvania. For what reason? maybe that's what it is.
Steel, the coal.
Yeah, and y'all's water, because your water's weird, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway. Man, maybe we just did something here. Spontaneous human fetal.
But how do you explain? I mean, there's
combustion.
Hundreds of accounts. Ireland, Paris.
Yeah, but
yeah, fake. Pennsylvania
only.
If you're listening and you live in Pennsylvania, guess what?
You might
put us in your will.
Put us in your will right now, just in case.
That's all I have. Taylar?
Okay, it's
what do you have for us today?
I have a really sad one, so hold on.
Great.
For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly the high point of our academic careers. Specifically with me and my French classes, I did not retain a single thing.
Sorry, madame, but it just wasn't there for us.
Just wasn't it.
Now, thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language.
Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or you just have some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world. Like how the next time I go to Italy, I'm not going to have to worry about ordering my coffee in a hurry at the train station. I'm going to know exactly what to say, unlike the first time I did
and it's definitely going to help us in the podcast.
100%.
Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go.
Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts.
Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective.
With Babbel, a sponsor of Creeps and Crimes, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German.
Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent.
We need that. There are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to the lessons, you get access to podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee.
Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel.
Right now, save up to 60% off of your subscription when you go to Babbel, BABBEL.com/creepsandcrimes.
That's Babbel, BABBEL.com/creepsandcrimes for up to 60% off your subscription.
Babbel, language for life. Okay, guys, so today I'm going to be covering the case of Kacie Woody. And during this case, we're going to try our very best. Morgan, I haven't told you this yet, but to not curse throughout this entire thing. Okay. Because I would really, I think this is a really good case to share with, your younger daughters or sons or just kids in general, that are having phones and being online, because this case is really sad, but it's a scary reality that we live with the internet. So...
Okay, so if you are doing that, make sure you start at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, do not start now. Well, do not
start now.
Start now. Do not start in the beginning. But you won't hear this until the middle. So, hi. All right, guys. So this is the case of Kacie Woody, and for this case, I'm going to be reading off my sources, just because of some stuff that's gone on with this case and the reportings on this case with other podcasts. But as normal, you will be able to find these in our description of the episode. But my sources for today's episode are Kacie Woody Foundation, Kacie's Story, an article off of ArkansasOnline.com, which was originally written by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and it's called Caught in the Web. It's a 4-part series by Cathy Frye, written in 2003. The Los Angeles Times, article written by Tony Perry in 2002. Web of Lies, Man with a Van, Catfish, Killer Investigation Discovery. The San Diego Union Tribune, article written by Mark Arner in 2002. Find a Grave, for 3 different sources on there. The Associated Press, Greenbrier, I think that's how you say it. Greenbrier, Arkansas, with KLRT-TV. And then David Leslie Fuller, KATV interview with Tim Woody and Wikipedia.
All right.
Yeah, don't come after me for the Wikipedia. You'll understand why I needed it when we go through this. Keep listening. All right. So Kacie Renee Woody was born on October 17th, 1989 in Little Rock, Arkansas to Rick and Kristie Woody. Kacie had two brothers named Austin and Tim, and Kacie was the little princess of the family. I'm talking the baby and the only girl, like everything she wanted. According to her family and friends, all it took for her to get her way was flashing a big brown-eyed puppy dog, like thing that all the little girls know how to do.
Yeah.
We learned how to work our eyes from day one.
For sure.
And if that didn't work, but daddy, I love you, aka another thing the girls know how to get their dads. But Kacie and her mother, Kristie, they were extremely close, and she was her mother's shadow. She would follow everywhere that her mother went, and the two just had an amazing relationship, and they were extremely close. So Kristie, her mother, loved horses. She collected hundreds of beautiful figurines and photos of horses. And Kacie loved this about her mother and her passion for these animals. In fact, just a few years before Kacie was born, Kristie and Rick moved their entire family to Faulkner County. Because of the school systems in this area, it was very small and quaint and just safe and sparsely populated. So they lived out on a big plot of land that was far away from other people. And Kristie and Kristie's mother, her name was Isla, kept horses on the Woody's new property, and they owned several horses. They did shows, they rode their horses for hours a day and groomed them to perfection together. It was something that all of the women just loved doing with each other. So Cathy Frye wrote that at home, Kacie was a, quote, model child. She was empathetic, kind to others, willing to help any and everyone that needed it. But she was very quiet and respectful when around adults and strangers. But at home, she was the star of the show. Kacie loved singing, being with friends, watching Grease the musical while performing the dances and songs along with the movie for her family.
Me too.
Me too. And at the age of 7, on June 19th, 1997, Kacie, her brothers, and her parents were on their way home from her brother Tim's baseball game. As they were driving on Arkansas 287, Tim, exhausted from his game, was chilling in the back with Kacie, who was going in and out of sleep after cheering on her big brother, as Rick was driving and Kristie was in the passenger seat. The family's Lincoln townhome was cruising along when two horses ran out onto the road. Rick did his best to avoid the animals and save his family, but it was too late. One of the horses ran directly in front of their car, smashing through the windshield.
Oh my gosh.
Glass was shattered all around, and immediately Rick looked over at his wife, and he could tell that she was gone. She was covered in glass and blood. He turned to check on Tim and Kacie, who were in the back, when he realized that his ribs were completely broken. He was in extreme pain, but his babies were okay. He tried his best to reach back and cover their eyes, but he just couldn't move. He screamed for Tim to put his sister onto the floorboard and not look, but there was just too much glass everywhere. Luckily, or maybe not, the family's close friends were close behind and saw the entire thing. They quickly jumped out of their car and put Tim and Kacie in theirs while calling for help. According to Cathy Frye, Kacie later told her aunt that she saw her mom and she heard as she made her last sound, which was actually her last breath, or better known as the death rattle.
Oh no.
Yeah. From that day on, Kacie hated horses, but she kept all of her mother's collections as a piece of her. Kacie became close with her brother's girlfriends, her aunts, and all of her mom's friends and the friends of her mom's.
Yeah.
And these women were her maternal connection. They took her shopping, they got her hair done, they taught her how to do her makeup, warned her about periods and how to use pads and tampons, all the things that were taken away from her when her mother passed away. This made Kacie more mature, but at the same time, it made her a lot more trusting of others because she had a great village. A village that loved her, a village that raised her and taught her. Kacie, her father, Rick, and brothers were extremely close, and they operated as a unit. Rick needed his village, though, because he was a police officer, and after the death of his wife, he began working the night shift, so that way he could be with his children during the day, take them to school, feed them dinner, and spend some time with them, and just work at night. At night, because Austin and Tim were a lot older than Kacie, they were able to, stay at home with Kacie and be fine. And not to mention the fact that Rick was a police officer, so he was a 15-minute drive away at all times.
Yeah.
And Kristie's sister, Kacie's maternal aunt, Teresa Paul, lived next door. Teresa was always around, and she served as a mother to her sister's kids after she passed. But it also helped Teresa, because in 1994, 3 years before Kristie's tragic death, Teresa's daughter, 17-year-old Jonah, died in a car accident. The Woody's home was an extremely rural area. There were lots of woods surrounding the home, and because of this, most of the calls in the out of the house had to be long distance. So calling your friends and talking for hours like we used to do just wasn't really an option for Kacie and her brothers. Therefore, they used instant messaging on the internet, and Kacie's username was Model Behavior 63.
Yes, girl.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, girl.
By summer of 2002, Austin had moved out of the family home, and Tim, 19 at the time, was living there while going to college, and Rick allowed Tim's friend, 19-year-old Eric, to move in with the family. Eric was a great kid and was now a part of the family, a big brother to Kacie and a son to Rick. Kacie was in 7th grade at Greenbrier Middle School, and she and her best friends, Jessica and Sam, chatted all day long after school on Yahoo Messenger and spent most nights every weekend together. During one of these sleepovers in mid-2002, the girls decided to begin using chat rooms to meet boys. But to keep themselves safe, they decided to join the Yahoo Christian teen chat room in hopes of meeting good young men that, were Christian. So it was totally safe, right? It's Christian. Almost 13-year-old, Kacie began chatting with a guy with the username Jazzman_DF. Jazzman was a 17-year-old boy named Dave Fagan, whose profile picture was a surfer dude who loved the water and being on the beach, living in San Diego, California. The two really hit it off because Dave began telling Kacie about his family that lived in Arkansas, specifically about his aunt, who he was extremely close with. Unfortunately, his aunt had recently been in a bad car accident that left her in a coma, and her situation was critical. This bonded Kacie and Dave on a deeper level because it was someone who Kacie could relate with, talk about her mother to, and feel safe chatting with. Kacie and Dave were extremely close at this point, messaging back and forth for hours each night. Kacie talked about Dave and his life to her best friends and family, and she was quickly falling in love with him. Jessica and Sam befriended Dave on their Yahoo buddy list, and they would chat in groups often. The girls all found Dave's chatting odd, though, because he would use terms like groovy or far out or wicked. But they just wrote it off of California slang.
Yeah, surfer slang.
Right. And before school started in the fall of 2002, Kacie told Rick, who's her father, about Dave's birthday, which was coming up, revealing that he would be turning 18. Rick was infuriated with his daughter, almost 13-year-old, not even 13-year-old at the time, 12-year-old, because she was not to speak to anybody that wasn't her age. In general, that's
especially
dangerous.
Not an 18-year-old
that's
boy.
Chatting with a 12-year-old, red flag, So he's like, you're not allowed to talk with him anymore. But Kacie disobeyed, laughing it off as her father just being dramatic because, he doesn't know Dave. Dave's my friend. He's like a big brother to me. Even talking about this with Dave and making fun of her father. Right before Kacie's 13th birthday, she had officially began a long-distance dating relationship with a 14-year-old boy from Alpharetta, Georgia, using the username Taz2999. His real name was Scott, though, and Scott played football, which was what his profile picture was, and he also played wrestling and loved his sports. Kacie told Dave about her and Scott's relationship, and Dave didn't really seem to get upset about this because she promised that they would continue being best friends. But at this point, Dave began sharing more and more about his aunt and her critical condition. Kacie promised to be there for Dave, and despite the long-distance phone calls, she gave Dave her home phone number, and they would talk at night when her father was at work. Scott knew Dave, and the two chatted often, too, and they even spoke on the phone.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And one night, Scott's father overheard the phone call between Dave and Scott. and he freaked the hell out. I'm talking ripped the phone from Scott's hands and told whoever was on the other line to never call back again because he knew that wasn't the voice of a teenager. It was the voice of a grown man. Scott, Dave, and Kacie all chatted and joked about how dramatic their parents were and blah, blah, blah. Not long after this, during the week of October 11th, one night, Jessica and Kacie, who's her best friend, were having a sleepover at Casey's house. And they were home alone as Rick was at work and Tim and Eric were hanging out with friends. And the girls were talking on the phone with Dave while just chilling in Casey's room. Well, while on the phone, they began hearing rustling coming from outside of the home. This was startling for the girls. As I said before, Casey's home was out in the middle of nowhere. Therefore, there was no such thing as foot traffic. And the girls started freaking out, and they were closing the blinds and the curtains and turning off the lights in the room and hiding. And then they hear a creak come from inside the home.
Oh, my God.
But it wasn't just any sound. Kacie knew this sound. It was the sound of a loose floorboard in the kitchen. Everybody knew which board it was and how exactly it sounded. It was a specific sound. The girls freaked out, dragging Casey's dresser to barricade themselves into the room, and while on the phone with Dave this entire time, and telling Dave everything that was happening, how scared they were, that they knew someone was in the house, they were going to call police, and he just kept being like, guys, you're just being dramatic, like just chill out, you're fine. And then the noises finally stopped. On the morning of Tuesday, December 3rd, 2002, Kacie and Sam, her other best friend, were hanging out outside of Casey's locker in between classes when Sam noticed that Casey's locker had a photo of Sam inside. Sam said to Kacie, had a photo of Scott, her boyfriend. And Sam said to Kacie, he's hot. But Kacie thought she said he's fat. So this started like a massive middle school feud right there. Yeah. Kacie and Sam got into this massive argument during which Sam somehow like asked the question to Kacie, how did you get this picture? And she said, oh, well, Scott mailed it to me. So Sam starts freaking out, being like, Kacie, we're not supposed to give our addresses to people. Like, you're giving your phone number, you're giving your address. Like, this is not safe. Like, he could, quote, be an 80-year-old rapist, and the photo is actually of his grandson. This worsened their argument, obviously, and caused a massive feud throughout the entire day in the 7th grade halls. So much so that the school counselor named Diana Keller actually had to get involved. Sam told Diana everything about Scott and Dave and how she was worried for Kacie because she was just too naive and trusting of these strangers. She was giving out her phone number and address, which is something her father would never approve of, as he was a freaking cop. Diana Keller sat down with Kacie next, and she warned her of the dangers of chat rooms. Kacie nodded her head, just rolling her eyes, sighing under her breath, telling Miss Keller that she only gave her phone number to people that her father approved of. Miss Keller didn't believe her and just continued on with her lecture about how unsafe it is to be online and to never agree to meet with anybody you meet on the internet without a parent involved. Keller then told Sam and Kacie to come in together, and they sat and talked out their argument and officially reconciled. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't get that word out of my mouth. So after this, they were dismissed and sent back to class. And Kacie asked Sam if she could spend the night at her house, but Sam said her mother wouldn't allow it as it was a Tuesday night, so they had school the next day. She then went and asked Jessica, who said the same, and then Kacie actually asked 2 more of like acquaintance friends, like not her best friends, but just people they hung out with. This was odd because everyone knew that school night sleepovers were not allowed, and they never had been. So why was Kacie being so persistent about it now? Kacie told her friends that she was just convinced it was going to be snowing that evening and that they would get the day off of school the next day. But it was a slim chance because it doesn't really snow a lot. In Arkansas, I guess. I don't know. Kacie wasn't upset with her friends, though, so she hugged them, said goodbye, and got on the plane. Nope, just kidding, the bus after school to head home.
To Los Angeles.
Yeah, she flew to Los Angeles. And she was telling them how she's so excited to go do her snow ritual, which is something that we all did, the spoon underneath the... Well, I guess you didn't really have to.
I didn't need that.
Yeah. What is it? It's like you flush salt down the toilet, you put a spoon underneath your pillow.
A snow ritual?
Yeah, it's a snow ritual. Did you not have a snow ritual?
You didn't need it. Snow ritual.
You're probably like a sun ritual for you guys.
We would get probably like 2 weeks off out of the year, at least 14
That's
days
so wild.
From snow.
No, you like put a spoon underneath your pillow. You do like there's like a whole thing you do. I used to do
work?
No, it doesn't work.
Oh.
I mean, sometimes it works, but you just get lucky. It's just
the kids that are listening, it works.
Well, that evening, Kacie was at home alone. And this was because Tim was working on a research project, like really late in the college library. And Eric was in his electrician's class. And Rick was on duty. And Teresa, Kacie's aunt who lived next door, was at her youngest daughter's basketball game. So Kacie took a shower and put on her favorite PJs, which were a part of her snow ritual, by the way.
Aw.
And she began talking on the phone with Dave, whose aunt was very close to passing. So he and his family were driving from California to Arkansas to be with her when she passed. But all the while, she was doing this while messaging back and forth with her boyfriend, Scott, on Instant Messenger. So I'm going to be reading these messages with Morgan back and forth that I obtained from Cathy Frye's transcripts during her 4-part series with the Arkansas Online, which was one of my sources I listed in the beginning, as well as the timeline that follows of events. So Morgan's going to be reading Scott, which is Taz2999, and I'm going to be reading Kacie's, which is Model Behavior 63.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, sweetie.
Hey.
How are you, my angel?
Okay. You?
Better now that you're on, sweetie.
Guess what?
What? Hee hee.
23 out of 130 kids were picked to sing in front of the school board, and I'm one of them. Ooh. And Wednesday, I have band practice, and Thursday, I have choir practice.
That's excellent, baby. I told you, you have the most beautiful voice I have ever heard.
Tonight, Dave's aunt is going to meet my mommy.
I'm so sorry, baby. At least we know that she will be happy there with your mommy. I'm sure she will look out for her.
Yeah, I think they'll be best friends. Hee hee.
I hope Dave is all right.
He is. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. He has been laughing at me because he knows it is the best.
At least he is laughing.
So guess what I got? A lecture.
Aw, I'm sorry, baby.
On how you could be an 80-year-old rapist. LOL.
Hee hee. Sorry, LOL.
Hee hee. And that the picture is actually of your grandson.
How many times have you gotten that one? Hee hee.
I've lost count. Well, then she's like, do your parents know you talk to people you don't know? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, be careful and don't agree to meet with them unless your mom or dad is with you. I was like, yeah, okay. She's like, well, remember this little talk. I was like, okay.
Uh-oh. Probably means she's going to talk to you again.
I know.
I will always be your Teddy Graham, and you will always be my angel, and we will be together forever and always and longer.
Aw.
Hee hee, what are you doing, sweetie?
Eating and talking to Dave and singing. Dave and I were crying together for a sec. I told him I loved him, and Mama told him she did too. And that Mama talks to me, and she said she would take care of his aunt. And then Kacie sends Scott a link to the weather website. Look at what it feels like outside.
Aw.
That's what he wrote. You can read that.
Oh, he says, aw, asterisk, holds her tight and rubs her arms to keep her warm.
Then you read it again.
Hee hee, I'll always be with you, my angel, because you're all I want to be with. Hee hee, I put my screensaver as the picture I have in my locker. You're the most beautiful angel in the world, Kacie. Are you okay, sweetie?
Kacie didn't respond for a while, but when she finally did, it was at 9:41 p.m. And it just wasn't what she typically wrote. And what she said was, yeah, and she spelled it Y-A-H.
Are you busy, baby? Hee hee, guess so. You there, baby? Sweetie, are you okay? Please talk to me, baby. When you are ready to talk, sweetie, I'll be here. Are you mad at me, sweetie? Please talk to me, baby. Are you okay, sweetie? Please, God, let her be okay. Kacie, please talk to me. Please, please. Still no answer. Scott kept trying. Sorry, you're supposed to read that.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't.
Kacie, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. Please, say something.
At 10:15 p.m., Scott actually called the Woody household.
Why isn't anyone answering the phone? Ugh. Please. Please pick up, Kacie. Please. God, please let her pick up. Please be okay, Kacie. God, let her be okay.
Scott then emailed Jessica.
Jessica, please let this be you. Something is wrong with Kacie. Her SN is still on, and she all of a sudden left during our convo, but didn't log off. And I tried to call her, and no one answered, and we weren't fighting or anything. So I emailed the cops to make sure she was all right. I hope they get it soon. I'm going crazy. I don't know what I would do without her. Please, God, let her be okay.
But it was late and Jessica was already asleep, so she didn't get any of these until the next morning.
Eric, Tim, Daddy, Danny, anyone, please be there to help her. Please, I know something isn't right. Please, please, please.
So Eric, the Woody's family friend, returned home at 10:17 p.m. and he got in the shower, got ready for bed, and started his laundry while watching TV. So the washer ended and he went to go flip his clothes, and this was at around 11:30 p.m. approximately. And as he's walking by to the laundry room, he notices that Katie's door was cracked open with the lights on, and it's late on a school night. So he knocks on the door to check on her, but there was no response. He then opened the door when he realized that she was not home, but he just assumed maybe she was at Jessica or Sam, so he went on with doing his laundry. So as he started the dryer, Tim arrived home, which is Casey's brother, and Eric asked Tim if he was supposed to pick up Kacie, and Tim said, well, I thought she was here. Immediately, he called his father, Rick, and Rick had spoken to Kacie on the phone around 7 p.m., and she had been practicing her saxophone at that point. Rick told Tim to go to Aunt Teresa's house and then called Jessica and Sam's house to see if she was over there, as he raced back to the police office to tell his superiors the situation and go home. When he got there, he called home again, and now a more frantic Tim answers and says that he's called everyone that he can think of, but Kacie is nowhere to be found. Rick sped home as his fellow officers notified other law enforcement officers in the area to be on the lookout. The first thing Rick noticed when he got home was that Kacie's shoes and jacket were hanging by the door. She wasn't wearing them, and it was 39 degrees outside and rapidly dropping with heavy rains in the area. There looked to be signs of a forced entry into the home, and beside the family's computer was Kacie's glasses, and they were damaged, so much so that they were missing a lens. He knew that she had been taken, and it was only even more so confirmed when he noticed that the family's Yorkshire Terrier was limping and very timid, as if it had been hurt. He immediately called for backup from his units. On the computer screen, messages from Scott, which we just read, were continually frantically popping up. Eric jumped onto the computer and began messaging with Scott. I'm going to need you to read me again. So again, just like before, these messages were obtained through the transcripts written by Cathy Frye, and it starts off with model behavior, which is off of Kacie's account, and it's Eric typing. He says, "Hey Scott, are you there? This is Eric." Oh, sorry, it's me again. "As soon as you get this, answer back, please. I've got to talk to you."
I'm on.
"What happened with you and Kacie tonight? Did she just quit talking?"
Yeah, just went silent.
"Did anything seem like something was wrong?"
Nope, not at all.
"What was the last time that you talked to her? I need as close of a time as you can get."
9:41 was her last message.
"Okay, did she say anything out of the ordinary?"
No, just quiet. I can send you our whole convo if you like.
"No, I've already got it. I just need to know if she has seemed like something has been bothering her or needed to talk with someone." Eric then asked Scott for his phone number, his address, full name, age, all of the things. And then he said, "Okay, well, what was she talking about the school counselor and the guy, Dave? Is anything wrong with her?"
Well, her and Sam have been having a fight, and they talked about it with the counselor. Then Sam told the counselor that she was dating me, and she got lectured. Don't worry about Dave. He is just a good friend. I would have said something if I didn't think he was a good guy, but he is cool.
So what happened tonight? That she just seemed quiet, and did she talk about going somewhere with someone?
Eric, can you tell me the truth now? Where is Kacie?
Just tell me. I've got to know. It's very important.
I don't think so. Not tonight, but she was on the phone.
Do you know with who?
Dave.
I'm going to get off of here, but I will leave it connected just in case. Thanks so much for the help.
Anytime, but can you answer something for me?
What's that?
What happened to Kacie?
Now, this is the same question that everybody is asking. Sam and Jessica were then questioned the next morning at school when the news broke that Kacie was missing. The FBI, Arkansas State Police, and every law enforcement agency in Faulkner County began working on Kacie's case, using all of their resources to search the area. Sam and Jessica told investigators about Scott and Dave, and Scott having her address and both of them having her phone number, and FBI agents in Atlanta were then immediately sent to Scott's home, where his mother answered the door and learned about Scott's online girlfriend that she had no idea about. The entire home was searched, and it was confirmed that he was using his real identity, but it still leaves the question, who is Dave? Scott told officers that about Dave and how he was coming to Arkansas to visit his dying aunt. Officers pulled up his profile and found the name Dave Fagan. Investigators used this to try and track down a Dave in the area, but it was a dead end. So they began calling around to airports, car rentals, motels, all in the search for Dave, or a Dave F, when they finally got a hit at a Motel 6 in Conway. A man named David Fuller had checked in on December 2nd, booking his room for an entire week and requesting no maid service for the entire time, and then he freaked out on the staff because of the lack of internet service in his room. Detectives arrived at the motel and searched David Fuller's room, where they found his packed suitcase, a laptop, camo clothing, rubber gloves, and a bed that was fully made and had not been touched yet. So, not slept in at all.
Oh, my gosh.
Outside the motel was David Fuller's car with California plates. Other officers were able to track down David Fuller to an Enterprise rent-a-car where he'd rented a silver Dodge Caravan minivan. Using this purchase, they were able to track down his credit card information and get a search warrant. On December 4th, using the emergency search warrant they were able to determine that Dave had also rented a Guard Smart storage unit in Conway. At this point, the media had taken this case and they were covering it in real time, releasing all of the new leads and findings as they were breaking, including the identity of a man named David Fuller, who was placed on the airwaves and news channels throughout the area. Immediately, officers from the FBI and local law enforcement arrived at Dave Fuller's storage unit at 6 p.m. The door was shut to the unit, but there was no lock. Conway Police Sergeant Jim Barrett then began to enter the storage unit when a single gunshot rang out. Officers ran for cover and called for backup while screaming for whoever was inside to come out with their hands up, but no one was responding. From what they could safely see inside, they saw the Dodge minivan had been backed into the unit and the engine was on and running. SWAT team arrived on the scene and they stormed the unit, and it was a gruesome sight. So, trigger warning before we get into this. If you let your kids listen.
I don't even want to know.
Maybe don't anymore. David Fuller was lying slumped over in the back seats of the minivan that had been removed and were sitting beside the car in the unit. He was holding a 9mm and had a single gunshot wound to his head. He had committed suicide. Sergeant Barrett then found Kacie, and she was dead. She was lying face up in the back of the minivan, naked, with her wrists and ankles chained to the four corners of the van's floor. Fuller had abducted Kacie from her computer chair while on the phone with her, forced a chloroform rag into her mouth before dragging her body to his car, where he chained her up and then drove her to the storage unit. Once there, he turned on the local radio station to listen to the reports of the investigation as he repeatedly raped 13-year-old Kacie before shooting her in the head and waiting for the officers to find him with a gun sitting under his chin. Medical examiners could not determine her time of death. However, it was determined that she had been deceased for hours at that point. But again, who is David Fuller? David Leslie Fuller was born on January 18th, 1955 in Salt Lake City, Utah, making him 47 years old at the time of Kacie's abduction. Fuller was the fourth and youngest child of his devout Mormon parents. Growing up, he was very quiet and shy. He never did well in school, and when he graduated high school, he went on to play guitar in several rock bands. He married an unidentified woman at the age of 19 and moved to Moab, but they quickly split up. After that, he met his wife, Sally Krenz, at a bar where he was performing. The two later married in May of 1983 and moved back to Salt Lake City. In 89, Fuller became a Navy Seabee, and the couple moved to Gulfport, Mississippi, where they had their son, and then later moved to Maryland, where they had their daughter. After the birth of their daughter, the family moved to San Diego in 97, and Fuller left the Navy in 99. As the years went on, Fuller developed severe anger issues and violent mood swings, spending hours a day talking online and then walking around the neighborhood at night for hours while talking on the phone. In June of 2002, Sally began filing for divorce when Fuller and his kids were visiting his parents. In August, CPS of California had to investigate a claim that Fuller had been inappropriately showering with his 7-year-old daughter. After this, he went to Sally's home because they were separated, living separately now, and he began basically slapping and screaming and threatening her, as well as their children. So she called police and was able to lock herself and her kids into a bedroom safely, and he was charged with spousal abuse. Which
I hate this man.
Yeah, it just gets worse. At the time, he was working as a used car salesman when he was arrested and fined for indecent exposure after showing his penis to 2 little girls in public, and he was then fired. But like fined and arrested?
Right.
No. Like, what? Fined? No. After his death, the FBI searched his entire apartment, where they found framed photo collages of Kacie, notes with her phone address, age, information, as well as everything he knew about her life, her friends, her family, and photos of all of them as well. They discovered that while using the Dave Fagan persona, he had attempted to groom at least 3 other girls Kacie's age since the winter of 2000. During this time, he tried to buy a Michigan girl a plane ticket to come see him. He then mailed a Dallas girl flowers and many other instances similar to this. They also found that Fuller had been to Arkansas twice before Kacie's abduction and death, both in the fall of 2002, once specifically being the week of October 11th, the same week that Jessica and Kacie heard someone in the Woodys' home and freaked out while on the phone with David. On November 2nd, he bought his 9mm and flew to Little Rock, where he rented a car, drove to Conway, booked his same motel room for a week, and rented his storage unit. They believe that this was his first attempt at abducting Kacie, whereas the first time he just wanted to stalk her family, and friends. Before returning to Arkansas for the final and third time, he purchased chains, zip ties, duct tape, and a bottle of chloroform. He then drove to Arkansas, rented the car, motel, prepared his storage unit, and then watched Kacie until he saw his time. As family and friends learned of the news of Kacie's death, they gathered on her front porch and mourned together. And it started snowing.
Oh.
They knew it was a message from Kacie and that she was now safe in heaven with her mother. Kacie's funeral was held on December 9th, and she was buried beside her mother and her cousin Jonah. Fullers, the Dave, I want to cuss really bad, but I know your kids are listening, were cremated. His remains were cremated and given to his wife, Sally. Fuller's parents were still alive at the time of his death and begged authorities to allow them to call Rick and express their sorrows and condolences for what their son had done. However, they were not allowed to. Fuller's DNA was then ran in the national database, as officers were convinced that this was not his first abduction due to his skill in planning, but there were no additional links. Kacie's family and friends founded the Kacie Woody Foundation after her death, a nonprofit organization designed to teach parents and children about internet safety in Kacie's honor, as her main goal in life was to help others. In 2003, Rick granted federal and state authorities permission to use Kacie's story in an internet safety and law enforcement training program ran by the FBI called Innocent Images, where the FBI released patches with a teddy bear sitting in front of a computer, and the computer screen read Kacie Woody 1989 to 2002 for their task force. And that's a case of Kacie Woody. I hate that case.
I do too.
It's so tough, but like you have to talk about it.
Yeah,
especially with her family, like allowing so many people to really like share her case. Like,
the internet is so scary.
It's so dangerous.
And I just remember, like, when we were growing up, like, yes, you knew not to give your address out, but like it really wasn't spoken on.
No.
Like, no one really understood the dangers of the internet then.
It was spoken
and things
about.
like this had to happen in order for us to really be like,
it was the horror stories that they told us. Like, you know, like I think back and I remember thinking the same thing, like, oh, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you didn't have the internet. Like, that's not how it is. It's safe. And you know, and then like, again, you're thinking like, oh, what's the danger of giving someone your phone number?
Right.
Okay. Phone books, area codes. You can look up.
Yellow Pages had everybody's address.
That is so dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, so many things. Like I can look up someone's phone number right now, and I can get their entire address, information, who their family is. Like, I can do that.
Yeah. So terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, that's episode 85. That's our 104th episode that we've ever recorded not including Patreon.
Crazy.
Wild. And we hit 1 million streams. So yeah, pop a bottle of champ for us because we have to take a break and let our livers breathe for a minute. But yeah,
I love that. I think you did a really good job. I mean, I hated it.
Yeah,
but I did.
It's a good case.
Yeah,
it's a good case to talk about, especially with kids listening and stuff.
So then the boyfriend was who he said he was. He was how old?
Yeah, he was 14 or 13, 14. Yeah. He really was from Alpharetta. Like, well, the first time I heard this case was on another podcast, and I'm not going to really, like, shed too much light on it because, yeah, we had to move our mics. I'm not going to shed too much light on it because it actually caused a lot of stuff legally with that other one. Anyways, I listened to it, and they never really gave me any closure about Scott because I was convinced that Scott was another persona by this Dave guy. Mm-hmm. But when I finally read through Cathy Frye's entire reporting, like, she talks about it a lot.
Does anyone talk about why Kacie felt like she needed to have a friend sleepover that night?
No, but people speculate that she knew Dave was coming,
like in town,
and that they were going to see each other. She was a
little scared.
Yeah, I think they might have planned to see each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Scott was reacting the way he did, I know something's wrong. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
Because most of the time, like, when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, you fell asleep. I would text
and him and Dave talked.
Yeah.
So
he might have known something.
Hey, I'm going to see Kacie tonight.
Yeah, like something like that, you know? I don't know. But, you know, when I was reading through that, I was like, she definitely maybe knew that he was coming into town, maybe going to try to see her, or maybe they set something up and she just wanted to be like, I'm at my friend's house.
Yeah.
But then, like, I think about poor Jessica and Sam, like, they're probably thinking, like, I'm sad I didn't let her come over, but then would he have come there and killed us too?
Yeah.
And then Jessica was with her the first time he was in her home.
Yeah.
So fucked.
It's so scary.
Yeah. I hope your kids aren't listening. I just said the F word. Sorry.
I did good.
You did really good. We did good. Because there was a lot of times that I wanted to be ripping people apart.
David apart.
Yeah. David specifically. Because everybody else did great. This is probably one of the very only stories I can be like, you know what? Everybody in this did a great job other than the murderer.
Oh. Her poor father and brothers. That is a lot of trauma.
I mean, yeah. Like, that family, you think, like, you know, after that, like, you lose your niece, you know, you lose your wife in a car with your kids in the car. Mm-hmm. You thinking, like, God, like, that's all you can give. Like, that's enough. Like, that's enough heartbreak. That's enough trauma. That's enough death in one family. But they've done such an amazing job at really, like, doing Kacie justice by allowing people to share her story.
Yeah. And on that note, the internet is way crazier than it was in 2002.
Oh,
so
way
if
crazier.
Your kids are on TikTok or your kids are on, I don't know what else
Instagram.
there is, but like even like video game or not games, but like games on
video
the phone,
games.
like Among Us, like there's a chat room there.
Yes.
Like I know that's an old game now, but like, well, I
Roblox
like,
too. Like,
Roblox, there's a chat room, like all of that stuff. Like kids can talk, kids can. And so you need to be monitoring. You need to be
on that shit,
teaching them.
Yeah, because another thing is,
and I know kids are hard-headed.
They're so hard-headed. They have. I mean, we were those kids. We were those kids that were literally like, "Mom, you're crazy. You're crazy." You know, but it's real. It's true. And I know they're probably like, Mom, Dad, all you do is listen to true crime podcasts. Of course you're going to be scared. No, if you're listening to this and your parents are crazy true crime obsessed and crazy creepy obsessed, listen to them. Okay? Like, this is serious. And then on another note, that trauma bond. Most people that are internet predators, they use something traumatic in the person's life to bond them to that person. Yeah. Kacie wouldn't have continued that conversation if it wasn't for his aunt. It was something that was she let her guard down over her mom.
Yeah. All in all, if you are, you know, under the age of 18, you should, or in general, you should never be chatting with somebody that you do not know. Like, I mean, the ability to track an IP address is like the snap of the fingers. Like, it's insane. Like, if someone wants to figure it out, they will. So Just be careful.
And if you're listening to this and you're one of those predators, like,
we'll come for you.
We will personally come for you. We'll be Dexter killers. Sorry. Arrest me now. But seriously, like, I'm not
the
joking.
FBI and CIA is like, finally, we got them.
They're like, that's the one we needed. It was a conditional threat. You messed up.
Pulling up now. They're right outside.
They come outside. No. But no, seriously, though, like, there's so many ways to get around things now, you know, like, because they're FBI, all these, you know, law enforcement, they're not going to have you on your radar unless you are a predator in general.
Right.
So if you've flown underneath the radar for this long, you can get away with shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's awful.
All right.
That's all we got.
Get your kids off of here now.
Happy 85.
Happy 85.
Happy 1 million.
Happy 1 million.
And happy charisma.
Hope that was charismatic. Why do you say that word? Charismatic enough for you guys today. Love ya.
Bye.